Hi, Tim Sells here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about lead generation in network marketing, but this specific video, I'm going to be talking about who you're looking for and whether or not it even matters about what you think in terms of attracting the right customer or rep. All right, so in this particular one, what I'm doing is that I am talking about the pipeline, but I'm isolating out the lead generation side. This right here, the pipeline, is how all businesses function, all colleges function, all doctor's office and restaurants and everything else. Every single one of them have to do the pipeline to build their business. And it's not any different in network marketing. And so I'm just centering in on lead generation. So I'll get to many more topics like marketing, advertising, contacting, writing sales copy, posts on your various different social media networks. But first, we get a vote in who we want to work with. All right. So what I'm trying to communicate in this video, and it's a strange one, what I'm about to say, but that I found something that utterly shocked me one time, and it always caused me to think that perhaps there's more going on than just me running an advertisement or something, okay? And so I've got to just tell you a story, all right? So I was driving down the road. I travel across country to go to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And along that journey, I was listening to an audio cassette tape, and I think it was Neil Diamond. And he was singing a song, and then it was one of those things where I kept rewinding it back and listening to the song over and over and over again. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if I could learn to play the guitar. I'd love to play that song. And I ended up getting to Fort Lauderdale, and it was, I don't know, 6 or 8 months later, after that, I heard this song on the radio. And I remember, oh, wow, that's that song. And so I listened to it, and it kind of inspired me, if you will, to come back to that idea of me getting a guitar and playing that song. And so, I don't know, maybe 3 months later, I'm driving down the road and I see a pawn shop, but it was on the other side of the road. And I just passed it and I go, I wonder if they have guitars. And then another week or two, and I'm coming that way and I see the pawn shop. I walk in and I start rummaging around pawn shop, wondering if they've got guitars. And suddenly I see this guitar in a case, it's a guitar case. And so I walked over to the owner, shop owner, and I said, hey, can I look at a guitar? And he said, sure. And so I brought the guitar over in the case, and it looked just like this. It is it. And I opened it up, okay? And so as I opened it up, I saw the guitar, right? There's the guitar. And I was like, I didn't know anything at all about guitars other than they sound cool and I wanted to play it. And so I kind of just strummed it, and then I reached inside and I saw that there was some picks and there was some extra strings in it. And then I saw this sheet of music, okay? This sheet of music that was laying in here. It was the only other thing in here. And I picked it up, and it was that song. Okay? And I immediately, it was like I picked it up, and I set it down, and I go, like I was so utterly shocked. It's like I couldn't believe that all of that just happened. Now, how did somebody sneak in that thing, and how did that shop owner know that I wanted that song? It was Solitary Man was the name of the song. It's not like a common song, okay? And so from that point on, I just ended up saying, look, I don't know how to define it. And, I grew up in the South of America and in the Bible Belt. And so we always prayed and everything. And so it wasn't as though that I was praying necessarily. It's just I had something in my head, right? And somehow all of those coincidences occurred. But I can't call that a coincidence, because how many songs are there? Like how many guitars shops are there, places that sell guitars? And how did I end up in the one and only one that had Solitary Man song sheet in the one I picked up? Okay, so I'm just going to leave that. I'm just going to like push off that little boat and let it start cruising across the pond in your world, and see if you can kind of, in your own way, figure out that there's something to your thoughts. Okay, now I'm not going real wild on that, because I'm always in action, but I am always thinking about, who do I want to attract into my business? And so I'm always thinking about that. Okay, so I want you to just picture that, in the big companies, the Coca-Colas and the Pepsis and the, Nike and things like that, they have a board, all right? And that board sits there, and they discuss strategies and things like that in terms of the company and the next moves of the company and things like that. And so I got that idea in my head quite a while ago, right? When I first began back in 1989. And because we would have like a war board in the military. And so they would, these people would sit around, and you'd have Army and Navy and Marine and various different generals and stuff like that. And they would discuss strategies and everything. And so what I decided here was, who do I want on my board table, all right, or at my board table? And so I would literally create in my mind the person. Okay, so I wasn't a, quote, businessman, but I wanted to attract a businessman. I wanted to attract a businesswoman. I wanted to attract, and then I began to, I'd have people at my table, and they were not doing or being who I really wanted to really hang out with and really work with. And so I would begin to tweak these different personalities, if you will, in my ledger. I'm like, all right, I don't want that anymore. That's too much drama. And I want this person and this person and this person. So I ended up just basically mentally creating the identities that I would have at my table. And so that's what I mean when I say we get a vote. Okay, so I'm going to go into lead generation, right? No question about it. And all of the nuances and different things. But I want you to remember how powerful you are. And that was the entire reason that I discussed the guitar, is that there is something going on, right? And so therefore, you decide, as you are doing marketing and as you are doing promotions of your marketing materials, and then when you start selling, and when you decide, no, this is not a person I want at my board table, okay? Because it's one thing to invite somebody to look at something, you talk to them a little bit, and then you have the choice to pull back, just as any, fighter or, something like that reaches out, right? So when you're courting a girl, or you're being courted as a girl, you get the choice of saying, you know what, you just don't quite fit on my board table, you know what I mean? And be willing to pull back. So we've already discussed this in other videos, and what this is it's character traits that one must have and one must not have. And so the character traits that we're not looking for, or we don't want to have with the person, is procrastination, which is delaying the important. We don't want somebody who is full of distractions, which is being a spectator and sabotaging success. Why? Well, at a board table, what are they going to be doing? Well, they're going to be throwing out all kinds of stuff that are slightly relevant are not relevant in the discussion that's going on. It's going to distract all of us. Okay? And procrastination is obvious why you wouldn't want them at the board. They're delaying the important. Confusion, not prioritizing and deciding. There's nothing that'll mess up a meeting more than someone who does not have the right priority of topics that need to be handled. Old habits and routines, continuing to do what is giving you what you no longer want, right? And so that's people stuck in other businesses or stuck in other things in life. Playing victim, a reason not to win is all that it is. And then invalidation of self, viewing yourself as less or unable. And so I don't want anybody sitting at the board who feels as though that they are not as valuable as the other people sitting at the board. I want them equally seeing the value of who they are in relation to everybody else. All right. Traits that I want to have is responsibility, the reason something happens or doesn't happen. So each member on this board is not relying on the others on the board. In other words, they are, it's kind of like you create a whole bunch of task lists and things like that, and you say, okay, so here's what we're going to do. And then invariably somebody is sitting there trying to hand them out, but not taking any themselves. All right. And so we want somebody that is responsible and knows that they are the reason that something happens or does not happen. Ownership, responsibility for all that affects your business. All right. You're draping that responsibility blanket over the top of everything that can affect your business. Having training intent, that was one, for those of you who know these traits that I've already talked about them as to who you need to be. Each one of these things are kind of a jacket that you put on and you say, hey, that's me, right? And these that are on you, you want to be like, I don't want that jacket anymore. And so I've newly introduced having training intent, because if a person isn't willing to be trained, then they can't get better. And so we're kind of stuck. Accountability, get the results no matter the excuse. Really and truly, this is the trait that winners always take, is get the results no matter what. Commitment, do the reps every day. Primarily what I'm talking about there is the reps that are in the pipeline. So as you move prospects across the pipeline, just keep doing those reps. And then showing up fired up to win the day. All right. Don't come in hungover. Don't come in a bad mood. Just, create yourself to be fired up every day. All right. So, all right. Wanted to get these here. So dropping these identities, have these identities. So what you're looking for, or willing to assume these identities. All right. And so you must be who you are trying to attract or more. And that one I talked about a little while ago, so I'm not going to go real deep into that. But in order to attract some people like this, you have to be that. And so if now is a good time, or it's the best time that you have, is just take it on, right? Begin to take on those identities, be those people, and then you'll be more likely to be able to attract them, because one of the things that I have found about attracting has to do with that if I can't be it, then I can't get it. And I remember when, those of you who have watched my videos with my wife about how to get your spouse on board, I always dreamed of this girl, and I hadn't seen her in real life yet, but I had visualized who she would be, how she would act, her love and respect for me as mine is with her. And I would always, every time I would say what I was looking for, I would always flip it back and say, well, if I want that in her, what does she want in me? Okay, so now you can kind of see that in order to attract that, you would have to be, being that person. All right, so please comment and let me know what's your view on what characteristic traits do you want on your team? All right, so number one, what do you think of the idea that you have the ability to attract somebody into your business? All right, and then the other one is, what do you think about those character traits that I went through, and does it make sense that you've got to balance that if you want that, you got to be that? Okay, so let me know. And then also, if you haven't joined our Telegram group, you probably ought to, because we get engage in there, and we ask questions, or people ask questions, I answer them, and things like that. And so, and if you haven't liked and shared, please do, and also subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much.